Dr. Yuki Tanaka pressed her thumb against the cold metal plate and tried not to shake. Around her, dozens of medical staff waited in line for their mandatory health screening. The announcement had come 3 days ago. Every person working on Helix 7 station had to submit to a DNA scan. No exceptions. She had spent 2 years building her cover, 2 years pretending to be from Belleria, a distant planet whose people looked almost human. 2 years speaking with a fake accent and celebrating holidays she had researched in secret. Now one simple test would destroy everything. Next, called the technician. A tall creature with gray skin and 4 arms. Yuki stepped forward. Her heart hammered in her chest. The scanning chamber looked like a glass coffin standing upright. She had seen 3 people go through already. Each time the machine hummed, lights flickered across their body, and a green screen appeared with their species designation. Simple, quick, routine. Place your hand on the scanner, the technician said without looking up. Yuki did as instructed. The glass door sealed shut around her. Blue light washed over her skin, starting at her feet and moving upward. She held her breath. The machine made a soft whirring sound. Then it stopped. The lights inside the chamber turned red. The screen flickered. Words appeared in bright white letters. Match detected, human program terminated. Everything went silent. The machine powered down completely. The glass door remained locked. What happened? The technician asked, tapping at his control panel. This has never occurred before. Physician Ralthan, the head of infectious disease control, walked over. His feathered crest rose with interest. He was from a species that looked like a cross between a bird and a person, with sharp golden eyes and a beak that could smile. Let her out, Ralthan said. The technician manually released the door. Yuki stepped out, trying to appear confused instead of terrified. Try another scanner, Ralthan ordered. They led her to a second chamber. The same thing happened. Blue light, red warning, and the words about humans. The machine shut down. Get Commander Brell, Ralthan said quietly, and seal this area. Within minutes, security guards surrounded her. Commander Brell arrived, his insect-like body clicking as he moved. His compound eyes reflected Yuki in 1,000 tiny images. A human, Brell said, his voice buzzing with anger. On my station. For 2 years. I can explain, Yuki started. Silence. Brell turned to his guards. Take her to Isolation Cell 7. No contact with anyone. They dragged her through the corridors. Other staff members stopped to stare. Whispers followed her like a shadow. Human. The forbidden species. The ones who had been banned from leaving their corner of space. The isolation cell was small and white. A bed, a toilet, and nothing else. The door sealed with a hiss. Yuki sat on the bed and put her head in her hands. She had come here for a reason. Her sister had died from the Grey Death 3 years ago, before the human quarantine began. The disease had eaten through her body in days, turning her skin gray and her organs to mush. Yuki had watched her suffer, unable to help. The Grey Death was spreading across the galaxy now. 47 species had been infected. The mortality rate was 100%. No one survived. No cure existed. Yuki had falsified her credentials and snuck onto Helix 7 because it was the main research center studying the plague. She had been quietly analyzing data, looking for patterns, searching for anything that might lead to a cure. She owed it to her sister. She owed it to everyone dying out there. Hours passed. Then the door opened. Ralthan entered alone. Why are you here? He asked, sitting across from her. His tone was curious, not hostile. Yuki decided honesty might be her only option. My sister died from the Grey Death. I came to help find a cure. Humans are quarantined because of the Omega incident, Ralthan said. Your species released a bioweapon that killed millions. That was an accident, Yuki said. We found an ancient artifact and activated it without understanding what it was. We have been paying for that mistake ever since. Ralthan studied her with his sharp eyes. The Grey Death has killed billions in the past year. Entire planets have gone silent. We are desperate for answers. Then let me help, Yuki pleaded. Commander Brell wants you executed, Ralthan said. But I want to try something first. Something dangerous. He pulled out a sealed container from his medical bag. Inside was a vial of dark liquid. This is a sample of the Grey Death, Ralthan said. I am going to expose you to it. Yuki's blood went cold. That is a death sentence. Perhaps, Ralthan said. But I have a theory. The scanner detected your human DNA and immediately shut down. That is not normal behavior. It is almost as if the machine recognized something it was programmed to avoid. I want to know why. You think humans might be immune? Yuki asked. I think, Ralthan said slowly, that someone designed the Grey Death to specifically avoid humans. And I want to know who and why. Before Yuki could respond, Ralthan opened the vial. The smell was terrible, like rotting meat. He placed a single drop on her arm. Yuki waited for the burning sensation, the pain, the beginning of cellular decay. Nothing happened. Her skin did not change color. No pain came. Ralthan's crest feathers stood straight up in shock. He pulled out a medical scanner and ran it over her arm. His eyes widened. Impossible, he whispered. Your body is not even registering it as a threat. Your immune system is completely ignoring it. What does that mean? Yuki asked. Ralthan looked at her with an expression she could not read. It means that the Grey Death was engineered, and whoever made it programmed it to leave humans completely untouched. You are not just immune. You are invisible to it. The implications crashed over Yuki like a wave. Someone had created a plague that killed every species except humans. Someone had built a weapon designed to commit genocide while sparing one specific group. Do you think humans made this? She asked, horrified. That, Ralthan said, is exactly what we need to find out. The medical lab hummed with equipment that Yuki had only dreamed of using. Ralthan had convinced Commander Brell to allow 48 hours of testing before any execution was carried out. 48 hours to understand why a human could survive. Contact with the deadliest plague in galactic history. Yuki sat still while machines scanned every cell in her body. Ralthan moved between displays, his feathers twitching with each new result. Your DNA contains sequences I have never seen before, he said, pointing to a holographic display. These sections here, they do not match any known human genetic database. What are you saying? Yuki asked. I am saying that either your records are incomplete or something changed human DNA at some point in your history. Ralthan zoomed in on a specific strand. This sequence here, it is acting like a shield. When the Grey Death pathogen comes near it, the pathogen simply stops functioning. Yuki leaned forward to look. The images meant little to her, but she could see the pattern. Every time the plague cells approached her DNA, they went dormant. Can you use this to make a cure? She asked. Possibly, Ralthan said. But first I need to understand where this came from. Have humans always had this genetic sequence? I do not know, Yuki admitted. I am a xenobiologist, not a geneticist. But I can try to access human medical databases if you give me a secure connection. Ralthan hesitated. Giving a prisoner access to communications was against every protocol. But his curiosity won. He handed her a datapad with limited access. Yuki's fingers flew across the screen. She bypassed the basic security, something she had learned during her years of sneaking around restricted systems. Within minutes, she was into the Human Medical Archive. She searched for genetic baseline studies, the kind done centuries ago when humanity first mapped their genome. She compared the old data to what Ralthan had just scanned from her body. There, she said, pointing. This sequence did not exist in humans before the year 2147. It appeared suddenly in generation ships that left Earth that year. Generation ships? Ralthan asked. Before we had faster-than-light travel, humans sent colony ships that would take hundreds of years to reach new worlds. The people aboard would live, have children, and die during the journey. Their descendants would be the ones to arrive. Yuki pulled up more files. In 2147, Earth launched 5 generation ships. They were headed to different star systems. We lost contact with all of them within 50 years. What happened to them? Ralthan asked. Nobody knows, Yuki said. It was assumed they failed. Equipment malfunctioned. Life support gave out something. They were never heard from again. Ralthan's eyes narrowed. But what if they did not fail? What if they found something out there? Before Yuki could answer, alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed. An automated voice announced a priority message. All medical personnel report to emergency stations. Grey Death outbreak in sectors 12 through 15. Quarantine protocols active. Ralthan's feathers flattened against his head. That is the residential section. 3,000 people live there. He ran toward the door. Yuki followed. Guards tried to stop her, but Ralthan waved them off. She comes with me, he ordered. They raced through corridors filled with panicking people. When they reached Sector 12, the scene was chaos. People collapsed in the hallways, their skin already turning gray. Medical staff tried to help, but there was nothing they could do. The gray death worked fast. Yuki watched in horror as a child no more than 6 years old fell to the ground beside her mother. Both were dying, their bodies shutting down cell by cell. Do something, Yuki begged Ralthan. There is nothing I can do, he said, his voice breaking. We have no cure. We have never had a cure. Yuki looked down at her hands. She had been exposed to the plague and nothing happened. She knelt beside the child and her mother. What are you doing? Ralthan shouted. I do not know, Yuki said honestly. She took the child's hand. The little one looked up at her with fading eyes. Something strange happened. Where Yuki's skin touched the child, a faint glow appeared. The gray color stopped spreading. It did not reverse, but it stopped. Ralthan, Yuki called out. Scan this. Scan what is happening right now. Ralthan rushed over with his portable scanner. His eyes went wide. Your DNA is transmitting something. It is like a signal, and it is putting the pathogen into a dormant state. Can it heal them? Yuki asked. No, Ralthan said sadly. The damage is already done, but you are stopping it from getting worse. The child's mother reached up weakly and touched Yuki's arm. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for giving us a few more minutes together. Yuki stayed with them until the end. It came quickly. When both had passed, she stood up, tears streaming down her face. This is not enough, she said. Stopping it is not enough. We need a real cure. Ralthan nodded. Then we need to find out where that DNA sequence came from. We need to find those generation ships. They returned to the lab. Yuki accessed more files, searching for any information about the lost ships. Most records were incomplete. But then she found something. An emergency beacon signal recorded 20 years ago by a deep space probe. The signal was weak and corrupted, but it contained a message. Yuki played it. Static filled the air, then a voice, human and old, spoke through the noise. This is the generation ship Ark's promise. We have completed our mission. The architects are gone, but their gift remains. Any human who hears this, follow these coordinates. Humanity was chosen. Humanity is the cure. Come find us. Come finish what we started. The message ended with a string of numbers. Coordinates. Ralthan looked at Yuki. The architects? I have heard legends of them. An ancient race that died out millennia ago. Apparently not, Yuki said. Apparently humans met them, and they gave us something. We need to go to those coordinates, Ralthan said. Commander Brell will never allow it, Yuki replied. Then we do not ask permission, Ralthan said firmly. From the doorway, a voice spoke. I can help with that. Both spun around. A woman stood there, human, wearing an engineer's uniform. She smiled at Yuki. My name is Nadia Wells, she said, and I have been waiting 2 years to meet another human on this station. We need to talk. Nadia Wells led them through maintenance tunnels that few people knew existed. She had been a station engineer for 3 years, long enough to learn every hidden passage and forgotten corridor. Like Yuki, she had falsified her identity to get past the human quarantine. There are 12 of us, Nadia said as they walked. Humans scattered across different stations and planets, all using fake identities. We have been trying to find the source of the Grey Death. Why? Ralthan asked. If you are immune, why risk exposure? Because everyone thinks humans caused the Omega incident, Nadia replied. They think we released a bioweapon deliberately. If the Grey Death is also our fault, they will wipe us out completely. Earth, all our colonies, everything. We needed to prove our innocence. They reached a small room filled with computer equipment. Screens showed data streams from across the galaxy. Nadia sat down and began typing. I have been tracking the plague's origin for 2 years, she said. Every outbreak, every case, every death. And I found something impossible. A star map appeared on the largest screen. Red dots marked where the gray death had appeared. Thousands of them scattered across space. The first case, Nadia said, highlighting a single dot on the edge of the map, happened here, the Outer Rim, a region humanity has never explored. It is too far from our space. Yuki studied the map. So humans did not start it. Correct, Nadia said. But here is what makes no sense. Look at how it spread. The red dots began moving, showing the progression of the disease over time. It moved outward in a pattern, but that pattern avoided human space completely. The plague jumped over human-controlled systems and hit everything around them. It is like, Ralthan said slowly. Someone drew a protective circle around humanity. Exactly, Nadia said, which made me ask a different question. What if this plague was never meant to kill humans? What if it was meant to kill everyone except humans? The implication hung in the air like poison. Yuki felt sick. But why? Who would do that? I do not know who, Nadia said. But I think I know why. Look at this, she pulled up a new file. It showed the genetic structure of the Grey Death pathogen. Buried deep in its DNA was something that did not belong, a data sequence. Pathogens do not carry data, Ralthan said, confused. They are biological organisms, not computers. This one does, Nadia said. And I decoded it. It is a message written in ancient human binary code, the kind we used back in the 21st century. She played the decoded message. Text scrolled across the screen. Forgiveness protocol active. Descendants of Earth. Complete what we could not. The architects left us their burden. We give you their gift. Follow the light home. Coordinates 43.7891, 123456, 880923. Yuki's hands trembled. Those are the same coordinates from the Ark's promise message. Yes, Nadia said. Someone wanted us to find that ship. Someone embedded a message in a galaxy-killing plague just to make sure we would look for answers. This is insane, Yuki said. Who could do this? Who has the power to create a disease this devastating? The architects, Ralthan said quietly. The legends say they were the most advanced race ever to exist. They could manipulate genetics, build worlds, and control the very fabric of space. But they destroyed themselves in a civil war that lasted 10,000 years. If they are all dead, Yuki asked, how did they create the Grey Death? Maybe they did not, Nadia said. Maybe this is an old weapon, something left over from their war, something that got activated accidentally. An alarm suddenly blared from one of Nadia's monitors. She checked it and went pale. We have a problem, she said. Commander Brell just issued an execution order for both of you. Security forces are on their way here right now. How long do we have? Ralthan asked. 5 minutes, maybe less, Nadia replied. Ralthan made a decision. We take a shuttle and go to those coordinates. It is our only option. That is theft of station property, Nadia pointed out. They will hunt us across the galaxy. They already want to kill us, Yuki said. At least this way we might find answers. Nadia nodded. Bay 7 has a medical shuttle. It is small, but it has a faster-than-light drive. I can override the launch codes. They ran. Behind them, shouts echoed through the corridors as security forces discovered the abandoned lab. The three of them sprinted through the station, dodging workers and automated systems. Bay 7 was on the lower level, normally used for emergency medical transports. The shuttle sat ready, a sleek white vessel designed for speed. Nadia's fingers danced across the control panel outside, bypassing locks and security protocols. Got it, she said, and the doors opened. They piled inside. Ralthan took the pilot seat, his training as a medical emergency responder kicking in. Yuki and Nadia strapped into seats behind him. The engines powered up with a high whine. Bay doors are sealed, Ralthan said, checking the controls. Not for long, Nadia replied. She pulled out a small device and pressed a button. Somewhere in the station's computer core, a virus she had planted months ago activated. The bay doors began to open. You planned for this? Yuki asked, amazed. I planned for a lot of possibilities, Nadia said with a grim smile. Being discovered was always on the list. Security forces burst into the bay, weapons drawn. Ralthan pushed the throttle forward. The shuttle shot out of the station like a bullet, leaving Helix 7 behind. Commander Brell's voice came over the communication system. Physician Ralthan, you are committing treason. Return immediately or be destroyed. Ralthan switched off the communication. I am tired of watching people die, he said to no one in particular. If there are answers at those coordinates, I will find them. The shuttle's faster-than-light drive engaged. Space twisted around them and they jumped into the unknown. The journey would take 3 days. 3 days to reach a derelict ship that had been floating in space for centuries. 3 days to discover why humans carried a genetic gift from a dead alien race. 3 days to find out if they could save the galaxy, or if they would become its most wanted fugitives. Yuki looked out the window at the stars streaking past and thought about her sister. About the child who had died in her arms. About billions of people across dozens of worlds all suffering from a plague that should not exist. We will find the answer, she promised quietly, whatever it takes. 3 days in a small shuttle gave them time to think, to plan, and to doubt. Yuki watched the stars through the viewport and wondered if they were chasing ghosts. The coordinates led to empty space far beyond any settled system. If the Ark's promise had been destroyed, they would find nothing but debris and more questions. Ralthan spent most of the journey studying the genetic data they had brought with them. He barely slept. His feathers had lost their shine and his movements were slow with exhaustion. But his eyes remained sharp, focused on solving a puzzle that had killed billions. Nadia kept the shuttle running smoothly. She also monitored communication channels, listening for any sign they were being followed. So far, nothing. Either Commander Brell had decided they were not worth chasing, or he was planning something worse. On the 3rd day, the shuttle dropped out of faster-than-light speed. Empty space surrounded them. No planets, no stars nearby, just the black void between systems. Coordinates match, Ralthan said, checking the navigation. But I see nothing on sensors. Try scanning for metal signatures, Nadia suggested. Generation ships were huge. Even as wreckage, there should be something. Ralthan adjusted the sensors. After a moment, his crest feathers rose. I have something. Distance 20,000 kilometers. It is big. They flew toward the signal. Slowly, a shape emerged from the darkness. The Ark's promise was massive, easily 5 kilometers long. It looked like a city floating in space. The hull was old and scarred, but intact. Lights glowed in some sections, suggesting power still flowed through its systems. It is still active, Yuki whispered. After all these centuries, they approached carefully. A docking port opened automatically as they drew near, as if the ship had been expecting them. Ralthan guided the shuttle inside. The bay was large enough to hold 50 ships their size. When they stepped out, artificial gravity pulled at them. The air was breathable, if a bit stale. Emergency lights lined the corridors, casting everything in a soft blue glow. Hello? Yuki called out. Her voice echoed through empty halls. A speaker crackled to life above them. A woman's voice, warm and calm, spoke. Welcome home, children of Earth. I am Mother, the guiding intelligence of the Ark's promise. I have waited 703 years for your arrival. Mother? Nadia asked. Are you an artificial intelligence? I am the ship, Mother replied. I think, therefore the ship thinks. I dream, therefore the ship dreams. And I have dreamed of this moment for so very long. Where are the people? Ralthan asked. The colonists? Follow the blue lights, Mother said. I will show you everything. The blue emergency lights began to pulse in sequence, creating a path. They followed through corridors that should have been filled with families, children, and life. Instead, everything was silent and still. The lights led them to a massive chamber. Row upon row of cylindrical pods filled the space, stretching as far as they could see. Each pod was frosted with ice, and inside each one was a person. Thousands of people all sleeping, stasis pods, Nadia breathed. They are all still alive. 50,000 colonists, Mother confirmed. Preserved and waiting. They volunteered for this. They knew what would be asked of them. Asked of them? Yuki approached the nearest pod. Inside was a young man, probably in his 20s when he went to sleep. What do you mean? Come, Mother said. To the central archive. I will show you the truth. More lights guided them to a large room filled with holographic displays. As they entered, the displays activated. Images appeared showing history that had been lost to humanity for centuries. The Ark's promise launched in 2147. Mother began. We traveled for 80 years before reaching this sector. We were looking for a new home. What we found was a war. The images showed alien ships, designs unlike anything Yuki had seen. They were beautiful and terrible, craft that bent space itself. The architects, Mother continued. the oldest race in the galaxy. They had been fighting a civil war for 10,000 years, two factions both believing they were right, both wielding weapons that could destroy stars. By the time we found them, only a few hundred remained alive. The images shifted, showing dying aliens. They were tall and thin, with skin that seemed to shift between colors. They looked tired beyond measure. They were losing their war, Mother said, not to each other but to their own weapons. They had created biological plagues designed to target specific genetic markers. Each faction made them more deadly, more precise. Eventually, the plagues mutated. They began killing both sides without distinction. Ralthan stepped closer to the displays. The Grey Death. One of many, Mother said. The architects created dozens of these weapons. Most died out when their targets were eliminated. But some, like the Grey Death, remained dormant in abandoned facilities, waiting to be accidentally released. Why did it avoid humans? Yuki asked. Because the architects made it that way, Mother said. The image shifted to show human colonists meeting with dying architects. When they met our ancestors, the architects were desperate. They had destroyed themselves and feared their weapons would spread across the galaxy, killing all sentient life. They needed a species that could survive their plagues, a species that could clean up the mess they had made. They chose humans, Nadia said. They modified you, Mother corrected. The colonists volunteered. The architects altered human DNA, adding sequences that would make all future humans immune to their weapons. Not just immune. Humanity became the key to neutralizing them. A new image appeared showing the process. Genetic manipulation on a scale that seemed impossible. The price was high, Mother said sadly. The process was painful. Many colonists died during the modification, but those who survived carried something precious. The cure to every plague the architects had ever made. Yuki felt tears on her face. My sister died from the Grey Death. Why did it not work for her? The cure exists in your DNA, Mother explained. But it must be extracted and synthesized. Your body carries the blueprint, but you cannot simply touch someone and heal them. It requires processing, refinement, and proper medical application. Can you teach us? Ralthan asked urgently. I can do better, Mother said. I can give you the architect's medical technology. Everything they knew about genetic engineering and biological synthesis. It is all here preserved in my databases. Then why did you wait? Yuki demanded. Why did you let billions die? I had no way to contact anyone, Mother replied. The colonists placed themselves in stasis after the modifications were complete. They intended to sleep for 100 years, then wake and share the gift with humanity. But our faster-than-light drive failed. We have been floating here, powerless to move, for 7 centuries. I could only wait and hope that someday someone would find us. Yuki looked at the 50,000 sleeping people. We need to wake them. Yes, Mother agreed. Their genetic material is needed. 1 or 2 humans cannot produce enough cure for the entire galaxy. But 50,000 can. Will they help us? Nadia asked. They went to sleep expecting to wake up in 100 years. Instead, it has been 700. Everyone they knew is dead. That is why, Mother said gently, I waited for you to find me. I needed humans from this era to wake them, to explain what has happened, to ask for their help rather than demand it. Ralthan looked at Yuki and Nadia. We need to start immediately. Every day we delay, millions die. Yuki nodded. Wake them, Mother. Wake them all. And teach us how to make the cure. We have a galaxy to save. The first colonist to wake was a woman named Claire. She opened her eyes slowly, blinking at lights that must have seemed impossibly bright after centuries of darkness. Yuki held her hand as the stasis pod drained its preservation fluid. Where am I? Claire asked, her voice rough from disuse. You are still on the Ark's promise, Yuki said gently, but a lot of time has passed. More than you expected. Claire sat up, her body weak but recovering quickly. The architect's genetic modifications had made humans more resilient. How long? 703 years, Yuki replied. Claire stared at her. Then, to Yuki's surprise, she laughed. It was not a happy sound. Of course. Why would anything go according to plan? Over the next few hours, they woke 50 more colonists. Each one received the same news. Each one reacted differently. Some cried. Some became angry. A few simply sat in silence, processing the magnitude of what they had lost. But when Yuki explained about the Grey Death, about the billions dying, every single colonist listened. The architects promised our sacrifice would mean something, Claire said. She had been chosen as the colonists' leader, voted on by the others even before they went into stasis. They said humanity would carry the cure into the future, that we would save lives. You can, Ralthan said. He had set up a medical station in one of the ship's laboratories. But I need genetic samples from all of you. Bone marrow, blood, specialized immune cells. The extraction process will be painful. Pain is temporary, Claire said. Death is permanent. Show us what needs to be done. Mother guided them to the medical facilities. The architects had left behind technology that made even Ralthan's advanced equipment look primitive. Machines that could read genetic code at the molecular level. Synthesizers that could create custom medical treatments in minutes instead of months. Yuki underwent the extraction process first, to show the colonists it could be done. The machine inserted long needles into her spine, drawing bone marrow directly from the source. The pain was intense, like fire burning through her back. But it lasted only minutes. When it finished, she held up a vial of golden liquid. This is it, Mother explained through the lab speakers. Concentrated human genetic material, processed to activate the cure sequences. One vial can treat 1,000 people. The colonists lined up. One by one, they endured the pain. No one complained. No one backed out. They had volunteered 700 years ago to give their lives for this purpose. Now, finally, they could fulfill that promise. While the extraction continued, Nadia worked on the ship's communication systems. The Ark's promise had been silent for centuries, but its transmitters were still functional. She boosted the signal as high as it would go. We need to contact someone, she said. Someone who can help distribute the cure once we make it. The Galactic Council will not listen, Ralthan said. Humans are banned. They will think it is a trick. Then we do not contact the Council, Yuki said. We contact my network, the other humans in hiding. They can get the cure to people who need it. She recorded a message, broadcasting it on frequencies that only the hidden human network knew to monitor. She explained everything. The Arks promised the architects the cure. She gave them the ship's coordinates and a plea for help. If you are out there, she said to the recording, we need you. We need ships, medical personnel, anyone who can help distribute this cure. The galaxy is dying and we are their only hope. She sent the message and waited. For 3 days there was no response. They continued making the cure vial after vial. The colonists worked in shifts, resting between extractions. Mother's medical technology accelerated their recovery. But even with architect science, the process was exhausting. On the 4th day, ships appeared. Not 1 or 2, but 20. Small vessels, civilian craft, cargo haulers. Each one carried humans who had been living in hiding, using false identities and constant fear to survive. They docked with the Ark's promise and came aboard. Doctors, engineers, pilots, and volunteers, all of them ready to help. This is bigger than us, one of them said, a man named David who had been hiding on a mining colony for 5 years. This is humanity's chance to prove we are not monsters, that we can heal instead of harm. Production increased. With more hands helping, they created thousands of vials. But Yuki knew it was not enough. The Grey Death had infected hundreds of worlds. They needed millions of doses. We need to wake everyone, Claire said. All 50,000 colonists. We need every person we can get. That will take weeks, Mother warned. And it will deplete the ship's power reserves. I may not be able to sustain life support for everyone afterward. Then we move quickly, Claire said. We wake them, extract what we need, and evacuate them to the other ships. They did exactly that. Over the next 10 days, all 50,000 colonists woke from their centuries-long sleep. The ship became a hive of activity. People worked around the clock. The medical facilities ran constantly, and the vials of golden cure multiplied. But time was running out. News came through Nadia's communication network. The Grey Death had mutated. It was spreading faster now, killing entire planetary populations in days instead of weeks. Whole systems were going dark. Their last transmission screams for help that no one could answer. We need to act now, Ralthan said. Even if we do not have enough cure for everyone, we need to start somewhere. Yuki looked at the storage bay, now filled with hundreds of thousands of vials. It represented the genetic gift of 50,000 people, the culmination of 700 years of waiting, the hope of a galaxy. We start with the closest infected worlds, she decided. We prove the cure works. Once people see it as real, they will help us. They will have to. Claire put her hand on Yuki's shoulder. The architects told us something right before they died. They said humanity was not chosen because we were strong or smart or special. We were chosen because we care. Because we would give everything to save others, even those who hated us. Then let us prove them right, Yuki said. She picked up a communicator and broadcast on all frequencies, no longer hiding. This is Dr. Yuki Tanaka of Earth. I am broadcasting from the generation ship Ark's Promise. We have the cure for the Gray Death. We are human and we are here to help. These are our coordinates. Come to us, trust us. Let us save you. She sent the message and waited to see if anyone would believe her. The first ship to arrive was not from the Galactic Council. It was a small medical transport from a world called Petra, where the Gray Death had killed 90% of the population in just 2 weeks. The captain was dying, his crew already dead. He had nothing left to lose by trusting a human transmission. Ralthan administered the cure himself. One injection into the captain's primary circulatory system. They watched as the gray color faded from his skin. His breathing steadied. Within an hour, he was sitting up, weak but alive. It works, the captain said, touching his face as if he could not believe it. You actually cured me. Tell others, Yuki said. Tell them we are real. Tell them to come. He did. The captain broadcast across every frequency he could access, sharing his story. Within days, more ships arrived. Dozens, then hundreds. They came from dying worlds, carrying the last survivors of plagues that had destroyed their civilizations. The colonists from the Ark's Promise worked without stopping. They had lost everything they knew, woken to a future where their families were dust and their world had moved on without them. But they found purpose in saving others. Claire coordinated the distribution efforts. We cannot save everyone at once, she told Yuki. We need to be strategic. Target worlds with the highest infection rates first. Create safe zones where people can evacuate to receive treatment. Nadia organized the growing fleet of ships. More humans came out of hiding to help, bringing supplies and equipment. They established distribution centers on space stations and orbital platforms. The cure spread outward in waves, but resistance came too. Commander Brell arrived with a fleet of warships broadcasting threats and demands. You will surrender the humans for trial, he declared. They have violated quarantine and stolen station property. The cure must be turned over to proper authorities. Proper authorities? Yuki asked, broadcasting her response across all channels so everyone could hear. Where were these proper authorities when billions were dying? Where were they when worlds went silent? We did not wait for permission to save lives. We simply saved them. Brell's response was to open fire. His warships launched missiles at the supply ships carrying the cure. Ralthan stood beside Yuki on the bridge of the Ark's Promise. I cannot let him destroy this, he said quietly. Then he opened a channel to Brell's flagship. Commander, this is Physician Ralthan. I am formally challenging your authority under galactic medical emergency protocols. These protocols supersede military command when civilian lives are at immediate risk. I am declaring this entire operation a medical emergency zone. Any attack on medical vessels will be considered an act of genocide. Silence followed. Then another voice joined the conversation. It was the captain from Petra, now recovered and commanding a rescue fleet. Commander Brell, he said, my world is alive because of these humans. If you fire on them, you fire on us, more voices joined. Captains from a dozen worlds, all saved by the cure. They positioned their ships between Brell's fleet and the medical vessels. Stand down, one of them said. Or go through us first, Brell hesitated. Yuki could see him calculating odds and political consequences. Finally, his ships powered down their weapons and withdrew. The Galactic Council had no choice but to acknowledge what was happening. Representatives arrived at the Ark's Promise, escorted by Ralthan, who had become an unofficial ambassador. We need to verify this cure, the council leader said. A dignified being from a species that looked like living crystal. We need to ensure it is safe. You can test it all you want, Claire said, standing beside Yuki. But we are not stopping distribution while you debate. People are dying right now. The council conducted their tests. They examined the cure, studied the genetic science, and interviewed those who had been saved. The evidence was overwhelming. The cure worked. It was safe. And it had been created by humans using technology from the legendary architects. 2 months after Yuki's first broadcast, the Galactic Council issued an official statement. Humanity's quarantine was lifted. The ban was removed. Humans were welcomed back into galactic society, not as prisoners or outcasts, but as honored healers. This council acknowledges the debt owed to humanity, the crystal being said at the formal ceremony. You were judged harshly for one mistake. You have answered with the greatest act of mercy in galactic history. The Grey Death claimed 3 billion lives. Your cure has saved 7 billion more. We were wrong about you. We are sorry. Yuki stood on the stage representing Earth and all the humans who had fought to clear their species' name. Beside her were Claire and the other colonists, Nadia and the network of hidden humans who had risked everything, and Ralthan, who had believed in them when no one else would. We do not want thanks, Yuki said. We want partnership. The galaxy faces threats that no single species can handle alone. The architects learned that too late. We have a chance to learn from their mistakes, to build something better together. The ceremony ended with the formal lifting of restrictions on human travel and settlement. Earth received official status as a full member of the Galactic Council. The 12 humans who had been in hiding were pardoned completely, but the real work was just beginning. The Grey Death was not the only plague the architects had created. Mother's databases contained information on dozens of others, all potentially waiting to be accidentally released from forgotten facilities. The Galactic Council established the Healer Initiative, a new organization dedicated to finding and neutralizing these weapons before they could cause more harm. Yuki was appointed as its first director. The 50,000 colonists became its founding members, their genetic gift allowing them to work safely with the most dangerous biological threats in existence. Years later, Yuki returned to Earth for the first time since she had left in secret. She visited her sister's memorial, a simple stone in a garden dedicated to Grey Death victims. We did it, she whispered, placing flowers at the base. Your death was not meaningless. It led me to the answer. It led me to save billions. A DNA scanner stood at the entrance to the memorial garden, part of a global health monitoring system. As Yuki passed it, the screen displayed a new message that was now standard across the galaxy. Match detected. Human. Galactic Healer Protocol active. Welcome, friend, she smiled. Humanity had been judged by its worst moment. Now it would be known for its best. Not as warriors or conquerors, but as the species that cared enough to save everyone, even those who had condemned them. The architects had chosen well. 700 years ago, dying aliens had looked at humanity and seen potential. They had seen a species willing to sacrifice, to endure pain, to give everything for others. They had been right. Yuki walked through the garden, past thousands of names carved in stone. Each one a life lost, each one a reason to keep fighting. She thought about the colonists sleeping for centuries, waiting to fulfill their promise, about Ralthan risking everything for truth, about Nadia and the others hiding in fear but never giving up hope. The galaxy was vast and full of danger, but it was also full of people worth saving. And humanity, for all its flaws and mistakes, had proven it would never stop trying to save them. That was the real gift the architects had given. Not just genetic immunity, but the confirmation that humanity's greatest strength was not in its DNA. It was in its heart.